Hey everyone, welcome to Cold Outreach Success Stories, where we interview regular business people just like you who have achieved consistent business results with cold outreach on email and other channels. We go deep into their process with hot tips around personalization, messaging, and targeting to make sure that you take away some good ideas to make your cold outreach process successful. Today we have on board Alan Silvestri. Alan is the founder at Growth Gorilla, an agency that provides high quality, no bullshit link building outreach for SaaS companies. He's also a Back to the Future fanatic and an 80s enthusiast. Alan, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, hey, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
Great, great. So let's just, get started, dive in.
Yeah.
So what is Growth Gorilla and how do you guys make money?
So basically, as you mentioned, we provide quality outreach link building for SaaS companies, which is software as a service. And so for those of the listeners that don't know, which I'm assuming is not very many. I mean, link building is basically like creating backlinks to specific pages on the web, which in this case is our clients' websites, to make the pages rank higher in Google search results. So what we do essentially is basically like we analyze the client's content, find relevant pages that they want to rank for, and then we go on to a specific process to find relevant websites and basically reach out to them with cold email to basically pitch the client's link for like a placement in their articles. So like this way, basically, so if they mention the client page inside their articles, it's basically like a vote in Google's eyes, which will make which will basically make the page rank higher. So we have
Right.
so we have like a team that's divided into like three areas. So the first one is the strategy, and this is basically what I do. Then we have the link prospecting team, and then there's the outreach managers, which basically manage the cold outreach.
Right. So basically, you're all about getting these SaaS website to rank higher on Google, right?
Yeah. So we are basically kind of like, you can kind of see it like almost as a digital PR kind of agency. So we essentially promote the client's content to other people.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I guess it's becoming more challenging now on Google, right? Because
Yeah.
um, first the first page of Google search results is the sort of mecca for everyone to
Yeah.
be on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So like link building as an industry is becoming harder and harder like every day, and especially because the quality of the content that everybody is putting out has improved a lot, like especially during the last 2-3 years. So it's really hard to kind of stand out from the mess and having like really quality content that stands out. So like the first thing that we try to do to be able to work in this industry is like first of all find clients that really have like stellar quality content. So we don't really work with, for example, like affiliate websites and generally speaking like low quality website. So we only try to find companies that are really already producing great quality content, and that's the first step. And then we like really need to be kind of creative in our basically like in our like approach to outreach, find specific angles that we need to use to get people to link to the client content. So there's a bit of a strategy and also a bit of creativity in there.
Right. No, it's definitely become challenging given how many SaaS companies have been formed in the past, 3-4 years.
Yeah,
It's
that as well. Yeah.
crazy the growth. Yeah. So what's your ideal customer profile in that sense, and
hmm
so how do you sort of get their data?
Yeah. So, like talking about the ideal customer profile, in our case, since we don't do sales,
Hmm.
sales outreach, in our
Right.
case, the ideal customer profile is basically like any website that would make sense to link to our client's website. So,
Hmm.
so this changes like with every specific campaign that we work on. So, for example, we might work on a campaign for an article that's about like I don't know, cold email, for example. So in this case, our target profile is basically like any websites that is talking about topics that are related to cold email. So we reach out to them, like we find like all of the details and everything. We decide on specific angles that we want to use to reach out to them, and then we try to pitch the client's page as a link placement inside their article in a way that makes sense for them to include it. So for example, if my client has an article that's on cold email, like I was saying, we might find, for example, like other pages that are about how to grow a small business, or how to do lead generation and something like this. So then we pitch them the client's page that's about cold email, which kind of makes sense, for them to include. So for example, they're talking about how to grow a small business. It might make sense to include a link that's about how to do cold email like effectively. Or if we pitch it to the article that's about like like ways to do lead generation, it might make sense for them to include a link on cold email for lead generation. So this is basically kind of like how we go about finding like the right people.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I think the two things that you talked about, the first thing was more around relevance, right?
Yeah.
So if the site is relevant
Hmm.
to the SaaS company, then it makes more sense to sort of target them. The other
Hmm.
thing is also around quality, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how much
Exactly.
traffic do they actually get? If it's like a small blog that's just like
Yeah.
five people read, it's
Yes.
not gonna drive the needle for the SaaS business. So how do you sort of find the data on these two metrics, the
Hmm.
quality and the relevance?
Yeah. So for the relevancy, uh, so we have a few tools that we use. One is Ahrefs, and that's like one of the best SEO tools out there. It has basically everything that you need for SEO campaigns, but we mainly use it to explore the competitors' backlinks, see
Hmm.
which kind of pages are linking to them. So then we use that data to decide on the specific angles that we're going to use for our like our basically our campaign. So I would take a look at the like a competing page that's similar to my client's page, find out which kind of pages are linking to it, and then take a note of all of the topics that these pages are covering. Because my assumption is that, for example, like if a page that's about, like I was saying before, like like how to grow a small business is linking to a competitor's,
Hmm.
like to one of my clients' competitors, my assumption is that I can maybe find another 10, 20, 50 pages that are about a similar topic that I might want to link to my client.
Okay. Hmm.
So we basically sort of like reverse engineer the competitor links to try and find as many opportunities that we can. And that's how we use the relevancy. But besides this, we also do manual checks. So the link prospector guys that are like in our team, they basically open up the pages one at a time. They check to make sure that it's a quality site, that it's relevant, and that's on the topic that we need. And that's also basically like a visual check that we do. Uh, for the quality, we use a few other tools. One is a URL profiler, which is basically a tool that allows you to import a list of URLs and get a ton of data. For the most part, is SEO metrics, so like Ahrefs domain rating, uh, Moz domain authority. It also allows you to get a few of the on-page data, like the page titles, the like the author name, so the author of the article, and then we combine all of those. We have a set of filters that we use. So for example, we only want pages that are like domain rating 20 plus. And then we also filter for traffic. So we might use traffic like above 500 per
Mhm.
month, and so on. So we use those metrics to do like an initial filtering. But then at the end, basically, we also have the manual check from the link prospectors who make sure that the page is actually quality and relevant. Then,
Right.
then we have a few other tools specifically for the emails. So we use Hunter, and it's hunter.io, I think, and that's to get the email addresses and also the author names, I think. And then we run basically all of those emails that we found with Hunter. We run them through Never Bounce, which is another tool which allows us to verify these email accounts. So we only send to verified, like email accounts. So yeah, it's basically like it's like a 10-step process that we follow every time, and it's like a chain with all these tools and a mix of manual checks as well.
Yeah, it seems like you've got a really sophisticated process going on with a lot of data coming in from
Yeah, yeah.
different sources, right? It must take a lot of data crunching to get to
Yeah,
the
it's basically a process that we developed in the past like 2 years or so. So I started the agency. It was just myself and one or two clients, and then we scaled it up in the last 2 years. Right now is myself and five contractors, and we are at about 10 clients so far. So we have been able to kind of streamline and systematize everything as much as possible. I'm a really fan of systematization and using tools and processes to get basically the boring work and the boring task as automated as possible.
right, right. I guess in the coming future, the demand for your services will also go up, given like SEO, as we discussed before, right? SEO has also become difficult, as well as there's so many SaaS companies producing great content. So it becomes all about the distribution, right? How do you get the content
Hmm.
to the top of Google, as opposed to just keeping on writing more content in that sense, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So like the main reason that I started this agency was because like I basically noticed that a ton of SaaS companies were like constantly publishing content. So like maybe like publishing 4 articles per week and all this kind of stuff. And all the articles were great, but then basically they didn't have the time or resources or the team to promote that content. So the content was just like sitting there and doing
Yeah,
nothing for them. So
yeah,
so I think it's really important to also have the promotion side down of the marketing.
yeah. I completely agree. So yeah, moving on to the next question. So what does your cold outreach process look like in more detail? Like how do you personalize the email copy?
Hmm.
How like what do you do to actually get replies from these guys?
Yeah. So like first of all, as I mentioned before, like the first step is to find like all the different I call them like patterns or angles, and these are different topics that we use to reach out to people. so so we actually use them to segment the initial list that we find of prospects. So we might find an initial list of like 300 prospects at the beginning, and then we basically segment it down to all these different angles that we have and that makes sense for the campaign. So for this campaign on cold emails, I might have like 3 to 4 like different angles. One might be how to grow a small business. The other one might be how to do lead generation with cold email and stuff like that. So then we basically write a specific custom template for each of these different angles. And we also use some specific custom like snippets inside the emails. So we customize like obviously the name of the person. We might customize like something that we liked about the page. We customize the URL. But the most important thing is actually the custom template that we like create for the specific angle, and that's because that's what makes sense for the people, like to basically place the link for our clients. So we try to really make it in a way that stands out from like what other marketers especially are doing, and that's because like for example, like most people right now are doing the standard skyscraper technique, they call it, to build links. So they basically send this template which like everybody's using nowadays, and it's been like overused to death. So right now like every marketers and bloggers, they can spot that template from 300 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah. So what we do is try to make it as different as possible from the standard template and make it in a way that is different from what a marketer would write, for example. So we might, like if that's the case, we might not even say hi, like inside the template, and just get directly to the point, or maybe point out something that's wrong with the page, as like like a normal people like would do, basically. Because we've noticed that we took a look at the support yeah, basically the support emails that a company would get, and we've
Mm-hmm.
noticed that the genuine requests from like actual people and not marketers were basically like totally different from what a marketer would write. So yeah, you can basically spot from like 300 feet what a marketer and what a genuine request. So we try to kind of mimic this kind of genuine request, and that means like a ton of different things, and it changes like with every campaign as well.
Yeah, that's a really fair point. And in fact, I've talked to other salespeople on this podcast, and one of the things that has come across now is the sort of overuse of templates, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So anytime if you're new to cold emailing and you think of searching cold email templates and you come up with the first
yeah,
page of any template that is in the first page of
yeah,
Google results is like done. Is
yeah,
done now.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
if you use
totally.
it, if you use it like human brains have a way of like like you can't fool your prospects, right?
Yeah,
They are smart. Like human brains have developed over billions of years,
yeah,
and anytime this kind of pattern, it just activates their, how do I say it, their bullshit detectors.
yeah,
Okay, this
exactly.
guy is bullshitting me. And it's not even a conscious thing, right? It just
Hmm.
like you get that smell from the email, like okay, this guy, is cold pitching me
Yeah.
in that sense.
Hmm.
Whatever it may be, sales or link building or whatever it may be, so that's one of the learnings from this answer from Alan. It's a great answer. Yeah, so like don't try to copy templates off of Google. Just research your prospects a bit more slightly. That tip around that Alan had around reading support emails,
Hmm.
that's a great tip, because when people write support emails, those are real genuine problems that they might be facing with the business, as opposed to them trying to get them, like, to sell them something.
Hmm.
Or just Google things to find out what might be the pain point with these guys. Like just Google, like for example, if you're reaching out to bloggers, just Google bloggers pain points. There'll be different bloggers who've written this kind of stuff. So just small things like that make a lot of difference
Yeah.
when you're doing cold email.
Hmm.
Cool. So in terms of getting the relevant data for this sort of personalization, so how like first of all, what's your view on this? Like how deep you should go to personalize each message?
Hmm.
What has your experience been like with personalization?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, like we don't actually personalize 100% of each like email, but what we do is we create custom template for each different angle that we use, and we found that this is like the best approach that's working better now because we've tried personalizing like every single yeah emails that we've sent, but we've seen like diminishing return with that. Because for example, we might send like 100% custom like email template to somebody like a high quality site, and
Hmm.
instead send like the usual standard template to someone else. And and it's kind of weird because sometimes we might get a link from somebody who we send the standard template to and not from the custom like message that we sent. So we just decided that it wasn't kind of worth the time and effort to personalize every single email for this reason. But we tried to scale it up a little bit by doing this segmentation. So I really think that it's important, especially if you have a big list, which might be like 100 and more contacts. It might be like a good idea to try and segment them in in yeah different angles. So you might like segment them by, I don't know, niche, by kind of contacts. So for example, blogger versus companies, or that other like some other thing that you might notice inside your list, and then create a custom template for each segment, so you don't waste like a lot of time customizing every single email. So I think that this is kind of like the best of both worlds. So you have a semi-custom template that you don't take like hours and hours to create for everybody, but you might create like 4 or 5 different templates for every campaign, which doesn't take a ton of time, and you still get like some pretty good results. And
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, good.
so another thing that we also do, uh, and this is not really about personalization, but we sometimes do, like, we have an approach that's particular with the first email that we sent. So sometimes we might send like the first email, which is just like an editorial request. So we might write something that's very generic, something like, "Hey, like, is this the right person for like a request about your content?" So something that's very generic, that's not selling anything. So we don't use links inside the email, and we just ask basically like who's the right person for like a request about their content. So then what happens is that some people are going to reply to us and some other are not. Then basically we are only going to be sending like personalized like replies to the people that replies to us. So
Mhm.
we basically only waste like quote unquote waste time with the people that have already replied to us, and that way we already have a conversation going. So it's not like a total waste of time to personalize the message more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. That's a really good tactic. I mean, trying to find the right person within the org that doesn't come across as salesy on the first
Hmm.
email either, because again, like we were discussing in the last, in the last
Yeah.
question, they can really sense it a mile away
Yeah.
anytime you're
Exactly.
slightly. Yeah, the other thing also is your experience seems really interesting around personalization, because I kind of agree with that, because if you personalize 100% of the email, a, you'll waste a lot of time,
Hmm.
and b, the personalization aspect isn't what sells it ultimately, right? It's the
Yeah.
quality of your offer that sells it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's a very good point, I think.
Yeah,
And
so if you can point out, like for you, I'm sure you do it, right? If you can look at their articles, and if you can determine that this particular article
mhm.
will fit really well on this small business website that's getting, like, 50K traffic per month,
Yeah.
then yeah, that will really make their ears stand up. Okay, this is something like a really valuable offer, right? as
Hmm.
as opposed to telling them, hey, I know you're interested in football, I'm also interested in football. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
everyone is, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what's in it for me?
So yeah, basically, like, the most important thing, uh, like, after you have a conversation going, is actually pointing out what's in it for them. So you need to start with the value first for them, because like you need to put yourself in the shoes of the person that you're reaching out to. So like if somebody comes to me and tells me to update a blog post that I wrote like 3 years ago with like a link from somebody, I'm not gonna give a shit, you know. So like, really, like, you need to think about what you can offer, and why would they want to do something. So for example, like the thing that we need to do, like that we try to do some, like, most of the times, is, for example, like reach out to like to evergreen content or like resource pages. So for example, that's like a page that they might like be interested in keeping up to date with new links, you know. So we don't just normally reach out to like blog articles that are like 5 years old, like, or stuff like that. And the second thing is, yeah, we try to filter the target articles by publishing date as well. So we might try to find the articles that have been published maybe like in this week or this month maybe, so that we still have a chance to reach out to them and say, and basically be like, hey, like, you left out this like critical information, like, would you like a link that's about this? So you might, like, yeah, basically make your article better, since you're still in time and your article is pretty fresh still. So they might be more interested in this case. Then, like, the other things that we do, and this changes depending on the client. So basically, once we start working with the client, like, we have a questionnaire that we send them with a bunch of questions on their business and a bunch of other things. in between these questions, there's also like a question that's about what they can offer inside the emails, and these could be a few different things. For example, for SaaS companies, this could be like a free trial or a free subscription of the product, or maybe like an affiliate links or link exchanges. Like, yeah, so we try to minimize these kind of things because it's always better to get a free link with nothing in return, but it's not always possible. So the more stuff you have that you can offer in return, like usually the better the campaign is, and the more chances you have to get what you were looking for.
Right, right. No, I that point about the timing and the quality of the offer is extremely important, right?
Yeah,
Because until that's in place, no matter how much you personalize, it's not going to change anything. No one is out there making friends on cold email, right?
yeah.
We have to do business.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we don't try to like to become friends with people or to like praise them with like fake like sentences of like, I really love your article, it was great, I saw what you Twitter, like what you posted on Twitter. I'm a really like big fan of baseball, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't really make sense, especially from somebody that you don't know. So we try to go directly to the offer, but make it in a way that really makes sense for them, and that's basically natural. It doesn't sound fake or forced.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good point. Like it should not sound fake. So one of the tips that I heard from some people like who do cold emailing like on a regular basis is they just read out their emails back to themselves. And
Yeah.
it should sound like you're talking to a friend, right? You're not
Hmm.
pitching it.
Hmm.
It should sound like that. So this is just a small hack.
Yeah, that's
Like
good.
anyone can try and do this when they're cold emailing. Just read it back to yourself. If it sounds too salesy
Yeah,
or too clunky, change it. It
yeah,
should
yeah,
sound natural.
yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
totally. And like another thing that I should mention is that like 90% of the time, the initial message that we write, the template or whatever, like we'd always get shorter. So I think that it's always worth to like read it to yourself, like you were saying, because there will always be some fluff that you can cut off from the message and make it more to the point.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like that quote, right? I don't remember who it was from.
Hmm.
So it said that hey dear, I did not have the time to write you a short letter, so I
Yeah,
wrote you a long one.
yeah, yeah,
It just shows you that editing is harder than writing
yeah.
because you can always write more. It's about being crisp, being precise, and hitting the nail on its head in
Hmm.
like 4 5 sentences.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. So, like, moving on to the next question. What would be your advice to someone who's starting an outbound process today? Like the
Hmm.
top three things to keep in mind.
Yeah. So like depending on the quantity of emails that you send out, so if you're doing link building like we are doing, it's gonna be a ton of emails, especially if you have a ton of different clients. So in our case, the top three tips that I could give is, first of all, prospecting is, I think, the 80/20 of the whole process. And that's because the more relevant the prospect, like in our campaign, that you can get, the better, like the most chances of success you're gonna have. And so like it's better to send like 300 emails to qualified prospects than like 500 to like some random sites that you found online. Because I think that first of all, like you need to improve the email deliverability as well, especially when you're sending a ton of emails. And if you send like hundred of thousand emails per campaign, like you're gonna like basically go over like the entire pool of prospects that you might have, and you don't want to burn like the bridges like with all of people, like basically all of the people, like too soon. So it's very important to be careful and yeah, really target the right people and send messages to them only. uh, like the second tip is, I was saying about the email deliverability. That's really important, and it's something that we always struggle, especially when we send out hundreds of emails for like all of the different clients. So So we always try to be on top of the email deliverability and improve it all the time, but it's not always possible because there's a ton of stuff that's always changing, like different software and different things that you need to stay on top of. But like the top tips that I could give on this might probably be like uh, try to avoid like using links inside the first emails that you send, and also avoid like spammy words. So words that might trigger the email to be sent into the spam folder. Uh, and also, it's really important, and it's something that we always do, to warm up the email account slowly over time. So we start off by sending, for example, 10 emails per day in the first week, maybe. Then we slowly increase it to 20, 30, 50, 70, and maybe up to 100 per day. But that's usually in like month two, basically. So it's really like a slow increase, and you need to always check the quality of the emails that you send. So you need to send to verified accounts. That's the thing that I was talking about before. So use like email verification software for that, and and also it's really important to set custom tracking domains to track the open rates, the clicks, and basically all the metrics that you need to see how the campaign is going. So we use a software called Lemlist for like for our campaigns. And the good thing that I like about them is that they have like an automatic email warm up feature, which basically is like I think they have like a network of people. They have like a Lemlist account, and they basically automatically sends like emails between them, which like actually warms up the email account for you. So it's still like an experimental feature that we're trying out, but it seemed to be working quite well. So I really like that. Uh, the other thing is to always use like an unsubscribe link if you're sending out like sequences, so people can opt out, and also to try and avoid like cold emailing people that are like in Europe, for example, because of like the GDPR. So to try and avoid that, a thing that we always do is we only try to send like emails to .com, .org, and .net domains. So at least we try to minimize the domains that might be in Europe. So that's another thing. And the last thing I'd say, with the follow-ups, try to be consistent but not too aggressive. And so the less follow-ups, the better. But what you need to try to do in the follow-ups is try to always provide value. So for example, like in our case, we might send over like another article that we found that's valuable for the person, or we might tell them that we started following them on Twitter and we like what they're sharing. So yeah, stuff like this, and always try to make it genuine. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a lot of advice. I think what we'll do is I'll just try to summarize the top three.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the first thing that I sort of noticed was that prospecting is absolutely 80/20. You have to have your ideal customer profile down, and
Yeah.
they should be really qualified for your offering. The
Mm-hmm.
second thing is the deliverability stuff. There's a lot of things under that. You have to warm up your email domain. You have to set up a custom tracking domain and a lot of that. And we have a blog article around this as well. I'll
Mm-hmm.
put it in the link description below. And also, the third thing would be to just always focus on the value that you're providing for them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Always
Yeah. Yeah.
keep adding value, no matter where it is, in the follow-ups or in the first email. It should it should always be about them and not about you. I mean, it sounds bad, but yeah, no one cares. No
Yeah.
one cares
Yeah.
about you.
At
So
all.
it's always
Yeah.
about what you can do for them, and everyone is wired that way. It's just the way human
Mm-hmm.
beings are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So on to my last question, Alan.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are the three things that you're most excited about experimenting with when it comes to increasing your outbound effectiveness?
Yeah. So I mean, like the things that I usually try to experiment with is like the first one is probably to always improve the processes for the prospecting. As I mentioned, it's like the thing that I think is most important in the whole process. So we always try to find ways to improve the targeting, the filtering of the like the bad websites and stuff like this. So yeah, like always trying new tools. I am a really big fan of Google Sheets for like filtering, sorting, and doing, yeah, basically like the bulk of the work. So try to get the most data that you can and use that to filter down the bad stuff from the list. And to do this, we also have a blacklist that we always keep up to date. So like sites that we don't want to contact, or maybe like words that we don't want the URLs to contain. So like even stuff like porn stuff, for example. So we have this giant blacklist, which is nothing more but a note file that we keep up to date all the time, and we use it to filter out the list from all the stuff that we don't want. So that's the first thing. Like always, try to improve the prospecting and your targeting to make it more effective. The second thing I would say is to always test your subject line and your email copy as well. So always like test your subject line and look basically at the open rate to see if your emails are getting opened, and look at the reply rate to see if the copy of the email is right or not. And so this is not like obviously like an exact science, and there's no like right answer for this, but it's really important to always test like your assumptions, because for example, you might have a subject line that you think is really the best, but when you pair it and you compare it to like another one that like you would have never thought that would have worked, it might prove that the second one is actually better. Like because everyone is different, and you never know like what is gonna be appealing to people or not.
Mhm.
And yeah, like the last tip is, and it's something that I always try to do as well, to always keep testing outreach management software. And so we started off using Butstream, but I didn't really like that because I thought it was too complex, too complicated. It had like a ton of like different features that we didn't really use. Like the interface wasn't really like easy to use and to understand. So we transitioned to Lemlist because it's, yeah, like it's easier, it's more fun to use as well, and it's more straightforward. So we like really like the simplicity in everything that we do. We try to streamline stuff. And also Lemlist, I really like it because it has a ton of like flexibility, especially in the personalization. It also has a feature which is called liquid syntax, which allows you to do like like condition condition, for example. So I might say like if these prospects contain like this word inside cell A in my spreadsheet, then use this sentence inside the template, and if not, then use this other one. So stuff like this, which is really dynamic, and it's good if you're reaching out to a bunch of different people and you need a few different angles like we do.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's really fair. One of the things to really take away from this answer would be the importance of like A/B testing stuff,
Exactly.
because you with your with your in your head, in your limited experience, you would have just one perception of what
Mhm.
people would like, but the world throws out some interesting stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
Totally.
all, you can't always model the world just inside your head, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
true
yeah,
nature
yeah,
of the world is
yeah.
almost impossible to comprehend for a single person.
Hmm.
So yeah, so you should always A/B test things, try to put more processes around your prospecting, and just take it from there.
Hmm. Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, this was really informative, Alan. Thanks so
yeah.
much for
Thanks a
taking
lot.
the time
Thanks a lot
and
for having me. It's been
chatting
great.
with yeah chatting with us.
Yeah, no problem. I'm really glad to be here, and I'm hoping to be back maybe later on in the year, or yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully, people can take away some of the stuff that I said.
Yeah, I mean, I think for now, cold emailing is sort of has taken a lower priority.
Hmm.
But having said that, it's still one of the most effective ways to reach and help people, because if you think about sales or like what you're doing, link building, you're
Yeah.
essentially helping people get close to their goals. I mean, that doesn't change even if
Hmm. Yeah.
even if there's a pandemic going on. And in fact, when there's a pandemic going on, people need more help. So yeah,
Yeah.
just
Everybody is basically inside their home, like with a computer or a smartphone, anyway.
yeah,
So
yeah. So they'll read content, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay, great to talk to you, Alan.
yeah. You too.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
thanks for coming on.
Thanks a lot. Bye. Bye. Bye.